If you need closed captioning, please click CC button in the bottom left corner of your screen to turn it on. And now I will hand things over to Mark Salazar from the New Mexico Department of Transportation to get us started. Mark?
Hello, and welcome to the first public meeting for Control Number 110-2060, the I-25 US 380 San Antonio Interchange Phase AB study. My name is Mark Salazar, and I am the Project Development Engineer with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. We appreciate your attendance this evening and look forward to your input after the presentation. The New Mexico Department of Transportation has procured the services of HDR Engineering to assist in the development of the Phase AB study. And now I will turn it over to HDR's Project Manager, Danton Bean, to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Mark. We really appreciate everyone's attendance today and look forward to your comments and input. This is a very important study, and HDR is excited and grateful to be part of this. Let me give you a little bit of a picture of where we're headed today in our presentation. The agenda is we'll first do some introductions of our team. We'll give you an overview of the study location and talk about the purpose of this meeting and the purpose of the study. We'll then present the existing conditions that we found in the issues with those. And then we'll propose some alternatives that correct those issues. We'll then give you a picture of where the development of the project will go with the schedule. And then the last part is where we need your involvement in the comment, the question and answer session and the comment period. So first, this is the team that's involved in this study. I won't go through each name. You've already heard from Mark Salazar, the project development engineer. You'll hear from some more of the consultant team here in just a minute. Let's go now to the study location. So the project is located about 90 miles south of Albuquerque or 10 miles south of Socorro in the San Antonio area. The study area includes I-25 from milepost 139 to 140 and the interchange of US 380 with I-25 and all of those associated ramps. The study area also includes Walnut Creek, the major waterway in the area of the interchange. So now that we've established the study area, let's talk now about the purpose of this meeting. We want to give you updates on the development and the status of this study. The team as always wants the public input in the development of a study. The daily users are the ones that know the area the best, and we want your insights and feedback to the issues and solutions. We are currently in the study phase. We plan to hold 2 public meetings in this study effort to seek your input and comments. The development of the project will then move into the environmental investigation and documentation phase, and then into the preliminary design. The project will conclude with final design and construction. So now the purpose of our study. Safety is always a top priority for the team. And so we're studying how to improve that level of safety. And that includes looking at the roadway geometry, drainage structures, bridge structures, and what we can do to improve that safety. So now we would like to present the different issues that we found in the existing conditions. And so I'd like to start with the roadway discipline and turn the time now over to Robbie.
Thank you, Danton. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ravi Sripada. I'm the roadway engineer for this project. I'll provide a brief description of existing roadway conditions and geometry for I-25 mainline, ramps, and for US 380 within the project limits. The picture on the slide represents I-25 main lines looking south. And as you can see, I-25 has 2 lanes in each direction with a 4-foot inside shoulder and a 10-foot outside shoulder with a posted speed of 75 miles per hour. Existing geometry for I-25 northbound and southbound lanes between US 380 and Walnut Creek Wash has deficient super elevation. The shaded area that you see on the slide represents the length of I-25 that has deficient super elevation. As you can see in the picture, existing I-25 northbound on-ramp is yield controlled due to the lack of sufficient acceleration lane length for ramp traffic that is merging onto I-25. 1,160 feet is required for design standards. However, the existing condition only has 150 feet. Similar to northbound on-ramp, southbound on-ramp onto I-25 also has deficient acceleration lane length and is yield controlled. 1,518 feet of acceleration lane length is required for the southbound on-ramp. However, the existing condition again has only 150 feet for the ramp traffic to safely merge onto I-25. Again, this is northbound off-ramp traffic merging onto US 380. Again, this is yield controlled due to the lack of sufficient deceleration lane length for safely merging onto US 380. This is a picture of existing US 380 looking west, and as you can see, US 380 has 1 lane in each direction with a posted speed of 40 miles per hour. In summary, existing on-ramps for both northbound and southbound have deficient acceleration lane lengths and are yield controlled at merge locations with I-25 and with US 380. Also, existing I-25 main lanes along the curve between US 380 and Walnut Creek have deficient super elevation. These existing deficiencies in roadway geometry will be addressed with the proposed improvements. Now I'll hand things back to Danton.
Thank you, Ravi. Now I want to present our findings about the bridges. There are 5 bridge structures in the study area. Bridge number 3168 was constructed in 1939 and is a concrete box culvert. The other 4 structures were constructed in 1964, and those 4 are steel beam or steel girder structures. Let's get into more detail now about each one of the bridges. Bridge number 3168 is a 20-barrel concrete box culvert that has really outlived its design life. As you can see in these pictures, there's some significant scour that have been stabilized with the addition of some gabion baskets at the outlet of this structure. We'll get deeper into the description of the drainage structures in a minute, but this structure is reported to have been a significant contributor to the flooding that occurred in San Antonio a number of years ago. Debris clogged up the structure and forced water down US 380 and into the community of San Antonio. So now we'll get into the interstate bridges. The inspection reports indicate that these structures are in poor condition and these structures are reaching the end of their design life. Some of the most significant issues are related to the concrete elements. These pictures show some cracks, spalls, and delamination in the concrete deck and superstructure elements. The girders, the structures have steel girders, which have some rust. The next bridges I want to talk about are over Walnut Creek, and they are in similar condition. The significant difference is the erosion or scour that has occurred on the abutment slopes and threatened to undermine the interstate. You can see that in these pictures here, that slope protection has been washed away. Here's another photo that shows the damage done to the abutment slopes and the riprap protection. Here are photos of the bridge decks that show patching and cracks and delamination. Again, the supporting elements are still girders, which have some minor rust to those. So in summary, for the bridges, they are close to reaching the end of their design life, and the team recommends that these structures be replaced with new structures that improve safety and decrease the maintenance demands and cost. Now I'll turn the time over to Andrew to talk about the drainage portion. Andrew?
Yes, thank you, Danton. Yeah, my name's Andrew Wong. I'm the drainage engineer for this study. So this interchange, it features quite a few drainage structures, ranging from 24-inch diameter culverts, just crossing a roadway or a ramp, all the way up to the bridges spanning Walnut Creek. So we've studied each of these elements in detail, determined their existing conditions, and to determine whether they have the necessary capacity. And we did find throughout this interchange that there are significant sediment deposits where the pipes are starting to fill up with soil. And there's also evidence of quite a bit of scour and erosion throughout the interchange. So with any drainage analysis, we begin first with the hydrologic analysis, and this is the process of determining how much water is going to be flowing through each of the drainage structures, and that's based on the size of the drainage basin, the different soil conditions, and the amount of rainfall expected. So Walnut Creek is the largest flow path through the interchange, and it has a drainage basin of over 30 square miles. And this results in a 1% annual chance storm, which is also known as the 100-year storm, and of over 19,000 cubic feet per second. So it's quite significant. So we take those numbers and we do the hydraulic analysis. That's the process of analyzing the existing culverts and the bridges to see whether they have enough capacity to manage the flows that we predict. And this is done using a number of computer software, including two-dimensional second-by-second modeling that we've done for Walnut Creek and the bridges over there. So based on this preliminary analysis, we have found that there are a number of drainage crossings that are currently undersized, and that includes the 20-box culvert over Walnut Creek, which aligns with the finding of the flooding that has occurred in that area. So at the bridges crossing the waterways, scour is always a serious concern. So as we found on field visits, the existing bridges do have quite a bit of erosive scour. The riprap that's meant to protect the slopes has largely collapsed, and the bridge piers have quite a few feet exposed, more than was originally designed. So these field observations also agree with our scour analysis, which does suggest that the channel may need to be widened, and other protection may need to be added to help make sure that the bridge is safe from scour. So as far as the drainage improvements, we do have a few different priorities in mind. The first is always just to make sure that we do not negatively impact the areas downstream. So we study the existing conditions and then model our proposed conditions to make sure that we're not going to make anything worse downstream. And the second priority is to make sure that the new interchange doesn't flood and will continue to be operational for the average year-to-year type rainfall events. And finally, our next goal, our final goal would be to reduce the amount of maintenance it's costly, and it can cause the interchange to not operate as intended. And that means reducing scour and reducing sediment, and should help extend the operational life of the study, of the interchange. So for this study, we are recommending to upgrade the undersized culverts, and there are some other modifications that would be needed depending on the different roadway improvements that are selected. But of course, the most significant drainage recommendation is that the new Walnut Creek Bridge will need some modifications of the channel as well as scour protection, just to make sure that it is protected structurally. So now I'll hand it off to Sanjay to talk about the traffic conditions.
Thank you, Andrew. For traffic analysis, we focused on both the capacity part and the safety part of this. And to do so, we collected traffic volume data, vehicle classification data, and also speed data. We also obtained the crash data for last 5 years from NMDOT, and we reviewed those. For the traffic data, we collected the data for 24 hours for the whole day, and that was on both I-25 and also the critical movement between US 380 and I-25. Additionally, we went to the field and inventoried the existing signing, marking condition, the pavement surface condition, and also we observed the traffic condition just to have a feel how the traffic operational condition is there now for the existing configuration. We also extracted historic traffic data and obtained the statewide travel demand model and extracted the traffic data from that. So when we consolidated existing data, historic data, and the model data, we are able to predict the future volume 20 years from now, which is 2042 year. So we had the existing condition traffic volume and also the future traffic volume for this location for all those critical movements. Then we used a sophisticated computer software to actually HCS and Synchro and analyzed level of service for those critical movements. And level of service, we present that by using letter numbers from A to F, A being the best. And the level of service analysis combines the existing capacity, volume, and also speed or delay. And we found that the number of lanes we have on I-25, 380, and also the ramps, they have sufficient capacity to serve both existing traffic volume and the future year traffic volume. In terms of the traffic signs and pavement marking, we found them fair and good condition, but the study team is recommending to replace with new signs and obviously new pavement marking. There are different kinds of pavement cracks that the study team observed when we are in the field, and we recommend reconstruction of the pavement. In terms of traffic safety, it was not a major issue there, but speeding was a major issue in that project vicinity. And also we have heavy vehicle presence there on both I-25 and 380 and all those ramps. So the study team strongly recommends putting in sufficient acceleration and deceleration lanes on those on and off ramps, and also partial lighting near the GORE area. With that, I will now hand it over to our project manager, Danton.
Thank you, Sanjay. So in summary of the existing conditions or the issues that we found, the on-ramps, I think everybody that has used the interchange recognizes that the on-ramps have deficient geometry. I-25 through the horizontal curve is deficient with the super elevation. The I-25 Walnut Creek bridges need to be improved to improve the hydraulic flow through Walnut Creek. And then the bridge structures are reaching the end of their design life. So those are the major issues that we would like to correct that we've identified at this point in the study. So now let's get into the proposed alternatives. The no-build alternative is always considered in the development of a project. The no-build alternative means that no improvements or modifications would occur. Along with that alternative, we've developed 3 build alternatives. And those alternatives would mitigate those issues that we've identified in different levels. So the first alternative is an enhancement to the existing geometry. And so in this alternative, acceleration lane and merge lanes would be added for the on-ramps. The interstate would be reconstructed through the horizontal curve to correct the super elevation. The merge area between the northbound off-ramp and US 380 would be improved to add an auxiliary lane. And then the bridge structures over Walnut Creek would be replaced to improve the hydraulic flow for Walnut Creek. So some of the advantages and disadvantages of this alternative, the advantage is that it has the lowest cost of those build alternatives and really doesn't impact right-of-way. And of course, it improves those northbound and southbound on-ramps. The negative or disadvantage to this alternative is this interchange layout is not modern and doesn't meet typical user expectations. And also, it does not replace the concrete box culvert, and that is so old. Okay, so let's go on to the next alternative. This is alternative number 2, and it's a diamond interchange. And so with this, again, we're proposing the replacement of the I-25 structures over Walnut Creek. Also the replacement of the interstate bridges over US 380. US 380 would stay on its existing alignment, but the interchange would be changed to more of a modern diamond type of interchange that meets user expectations. So some of the advantages, disadvantages here, again, it corrects the on-ramp issues that are present there today. It improves Walnut Creek and it eliminates the concrete box culvert and eliminates that structure from the state's inventory list. The disadvantages are that the construction costs are increased, and there's a stop controlled or the ramps come to a stop condition at the US 380 intersections. Okay, alternative 3 is also a diamond interchange, but the alignment of US 380 is moved further south. And this gives some more distance between the Walnut Creek bridge structures and the US 380 intersections. This alternative again replaces the bridges over Walnut Creek and US 380. It removes the existing concrete box culvert from the inventory list and from the study area. So some of the advantages, disadvantages for this alternative, again, it improves the on-ramp situation. It improves the Walnut Creek drainage, and there's some advantages in the maintenance of traffic during construction. It allows US 380 traffic to stay open during the construction. Some of the disadvantages are related to the construction costs. Those would go up with more elements of being reconstructed. There is an increased amount of right-of-way that would be needed with this alternative. And again, there's stop conditions at the intersections of US 380 and the ramps. So those are the 3 alternatives that are proposed with the study to correct the issues we've identified. So now let me give you an idea of where things are going to be going. We started the study in the spring of this year and expect to complete the study in the spring of next year. We plan to hold another public meeting in the early part of 3. And we'll present more detailed information on the alternatives and incorporate input from today's meeting. The preliminary design and environmental investigation and documentation efforts will start up as soon as possible after this study. That will lead into the final design efforts. At this point, the construction funds have not been programmed, so the construction schedule is not known. So some of those dates or schedule of those things are yet to be determined. All right, so this is where we need your help. Are we on target? Have we found the issues? Are there other issues that have been missed? And what are your thoughts, comments in regard to the proposed alternatives? Randy, do you want to give us some instructions on how we can go into the Q&A session?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Danton. Our public comment period extends through December 16th, 2022, and there are a number of ways that you can provide comments. At tonight's meeting, you may ask questions to the study team. We will try to take questions in the order they were received. If you aren't ready to comment tonight and would like to take more time to provide your feedback, you can provide comments online via the project website, which again is www.dot.gov/I-25-San-Antonio-study. You can comment on the project phone line at 602-245-6330. Just leave a message and we will record your comment. You can email your comments to I25sanantonio@hdrinc.com. And you can mail your comments to I-25 San Antonio Study, care of HDR, 20 East Thomas Road, Suite 2500, Phoenix, Arizona 85012. Again, if you would like your comments or questions to be recorded in the meeting summary, they must be received by December 16th, 2022. However, we encourage you to send us comments or questions throughout the study. All comment methods are considered equal. Now I'll go through ways you can make a comment or ask a question tonight. To verbally make a statement or ask a question, we ask that you please virtually raise your hand. Here's how to do that. For those of you using WebEx through your internet browser, mobile phone app, or your WebEx desktop app, simply follow the instructions you see on the screen. If you would like to ask your question or make a statement, you can click the raised hand icon. When you are called, the moderator will unmute your mic and allow you to speak. When you're finished, the moderator will mute your line and we ask that you lower your hand by clicking on the raised hand icon again. Again, for those joining us online, all these WebEx instructions are showing on your screen. If you are joining by phone as a call-in participant, press *3 if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment. This gives us a hand raised signal. When it's your turn to speak, we'll call on you and you'll be asked to unmute your line. When you finish speaking, press *3 again to remove the hand raised signal. If you've joined us using one of the WebEx applications, you may choose to submit your question or comment in writing using the WebEx Q&A feature. These instructions are displayed on the screen. Remember, if you are joining by phone, press *3 if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment. This gives us a hand raised signal, and when it's your turn to speak, we'll call on you and your line will be unmuted. When you finish speaking, press *3 again to remove a hand raised signal. A reminder, if you're having technical issues, please contact WebEx Help at 866-229-3239. We will do our best to respond to the questions in the order they are received. Please be patient as we may have many questions. If needed, we can extend our meeting time to respond to questions. If we still have outstanding questions at the time the meeting ends, we'll respond to written questions as part of the meeting summary and provide to participants via email and post on our project webpage. For those on the phone, you may submit your questions or comments by phone or other methods following the meeting. We will now begin with our questions. And we already have a couple of call-in users, so I'm going to go ahead and ask our first call-in user to unmute.
Randy, while you're doing that, I wanted to mention that we've received quite a few comments through the website, which we appreciate, and we'll get those recorded into the summary. again, thank you all for those comments that have been submitted.
Call-in user, you've been unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question or make your comment.
My name is Rex Myers, and I'm with the Friends of the Bosque del Apache, and we wanted to go on record noting the heavy traffic volume that comes down to visit Bosque del Apache, both New Mexico residents and out-of-state tourists, and the dangers that we think they face in the on-ramps. And so we're very, very concerned. And if I'm hearing correctly, it sounds like that's a major consideration in the study, and we support that very, very much. The on-ramps, we think, are very dangerous for people unfamiliar with the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate that comment, and yes, definitely, that's been a common message in the comments we've received, that those on-ramps are a safety concern, and definitely I've recognized that. Thank you.
All right, let's take a written question. This is from Rosemarie Murray, and her question is the extremely short on-ramp from 380 to I-25 north being addressed?
Yes, that's the strong issue that definitely has been recognized and is part of the study. So we hope that as the improvements happen in the interchange, that'll be definitely one that'll get attention and get corrected.
All right, we have another call-in user. So call-in user, I am requesting for you to unmute your line.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Go ahead.
This is Ray Martinez. I used to work for the Highway Department. I worked for them for 30 years. My current job is County Commissioner for Socorro County, and that area in San Antonio is my area. I'm very happy that the study finally is happening, and that there'll be some corrections coming down the line. That interchange is very dangerous, very dangerous. There's a lot of traffic, and it needs to be replaced and fixed. I'm also glad that you're addressing the drainage, because we've flooded a few times, and we'd like to help to prevent that from happening. My last question is, will you email all this stuff, or can we get it to see what was asked and continue with the progress on it? I plan to join in the spring and send more comments on email. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Yes, the information will be provided on the website. Randy, I'm expecting, correct me if I'm wrong, that the recording of the meeting will be posted on the website and in the PowerPoint presentation. So.
That is correct. They will both be posted. All right, we have another question from Martha. Martha, I'm going to ask you to unmute your line.
Yet?
There you go.
We can hear you, Martha. Go ahead.
Yes. I live down in San Antonio, and I've driven that interchange for about 35 years now, and I'm really pleased to see it's finally being addressed. And any of those solutions would be better than what we have right now. I am wondering, during the time period of what would be the estimated period of construction? I realize that's hard to say because you haven't decided which option might be done, but during that time also, would there be periods of time when the bridge would be completely closed and traffic would have to be rerouted somehow? Or are there periods of time when all those of us who live in San Antonio would have to take Highway 1 North, or issues like that? What would be kind of oh, I hate to call it the convenience factors that might be considered there?
Thank you, Martha. Mark, I'll let you chime in if you have any information on the schedule. To answer your question though, Martha, in regard to the closures, that's information that we hope to add in our next public meeting. We'll investigate the methods, the phasing of construction of these alternatives. The intention will be to, of course, to leave things open as much as possible to minimize inconvenience to the traveling public. The times that things may be closed are in situations where the bridge work, for instance, is over. There's activities over traffic, hanging of girders or pouring of concrete bridge decks. Those things may require a closure, but they would be short term. They would be, a one-day type of closure. So hopefully we can get a little bit more detail for you on those topics in the next public meeting. Mark, do you have any information on any schedule for construction?
Unfortunately, not at this time. 'Cause as you mentioned before, the funding for this project is not yet programmed. So not until that money's been found, been programmed for, then we could start setting dates to it. Maybe at the next meeting we'll have more information about that.
Thanks, Mark.
Let's go to our next call-in user. Caller, I have requested your line to unmute. And you are unmuted. Go ahead. Thank you.
This is Ray again. I'm sorry. Martha asked the question I was going to ask, so it got answered. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Margaret DeBella. Margaret, I have requested your line to unmute. And you are unmuted. Go ahead, Margaret.
The maps that you're showing are very good, but difficult to see. I'm wondering what kind of impact will be on the businesses and the real estate around that area.
There will be some need for additional right-of-way, and that would be additional property for some of those alternatives. But they would not impact any currently developed property. The impacts that may happen to businesses in San Antonio would be if there was some short-term closures of roads during construction. And of course, as I mentioned before, all attempts would be made to minimize those type of closures. If there is a closure of a portion of the interchange, then detour routes would be developed for those traffic elements. Did that answer your question?
If that didn't answer your question, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll unmute you again so you can do a follow-up. But for now, we have another question. So I've go ahead and ask to unmute your line. And you are unmuted. Go ahead. Thank you.
I know that one of the alternatives said that 380 would be closed. Can you tell me specifically, is that just 380 close to the interstate, or what does that include?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you may have seen with that. 380s has to be in the final product will be left open. During construction, there may be temporary closures of US 380, depending on the alternative. And, you know, as I mentioned, there would be detour routes developed when those closures do happen. That's really, we haven't gotten deep into the development of the phasing of the construction of these alternatives. That's something that we hope to be able to present in more detail at the next public meeting.
Travis Harris, I have sent a request for you to unmute. You are unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Say, I'm a farmer here in San Antonio, and I'm very glad. I've lived here all my life. My dad's lived here all his life, and I appreciate you guys looking into the fact of the on-ramp accessibilities and the dangers that have always existed there, especially on northbound from 380. Different times my dad's gone in almost into the guardrail. My mother-in-law almost hit the guardrail because people that are coming from the south do not move over and yield to people coming on. And so I'm very glad that you guys are looking into this. We've also, the issues of the flooding and stuff, rehabilitating the bridges on the Walnut Creek. I appreciate that as well. And I also have a question because I'm a farmer and I have individuals that come from up north and down south both to pick up hay. Most of them are pulling trailers, either with semis or goosenecks and pickups. And when the construction actually begins, how much time or would you guys be able to tell us as individuals when this is going to happen so we can arrange with our people that are coming to come a different way so they don't have to drive 25 miles out of the way to get turned around and come around to pick up the hay? And that's one of the questions that I had.
Good question. You know, that's things that will be organized and developed when the construction plans are put together. Oftentimes what the DOT does is puts in a mechanism into the contract where the construction contractor has to make the public aware of their activities and of upcoming closures. So I would expect that in this project we would do something similar of that nature that has been done on other projects, and do the best that we can to, you know, to keep everybody updated of things. Oftentimes you'll see those message boards on, you know, at the project limits that's, you know, give you information about upcoming closures or the shifting of traffic. And so those are some of the other ways that the DOT often will notify the users of construction activities. Great comment.
Amy Evans, I just requested you to unmute. You are unmuted. Go ahead.
Add to that comment on there, anytime we have a project, do give advance notice. We'll do public meetings to allow people to know when these projects will be underway, what to expect, and then definitely at any milestones, if we do have to close bridges, all of that information is sent out. It is, you know, days, weeks, or months in advance sent out. So that's really not a concern. We will, you know, give detour routes, anything that may be needed. And I just kind of wanted to add to the comment on there.
Thank you.
We have a couple of ones in the Q&A. Rosemary Murray had two, so I'm going to go ahead and combine them. Her first was, it seems like the on-ramp to I-25 North should run parallel with the highway longer before you are forced onto the highway. And she said, in the meantime, before construction begins, could there be signs warning of the extremely short on-ramp to North I-25?
Yes, thank you. The first comment is definitely, we agree to that. I think that's definitely needed in the improvements. Mark, I would probably need your help with the second part of those comments about the interim or things that could be done at this point to help out that situation.
Yes, that's actually a really good question. We, the South Region Design, we've been discussing with the district to see what type of signs maybe we could put in that area, maybe switching the mainline traffic, switching them to the over to the left, so they could be away from the oncoming traffic from the ramp. So we're looking into that signage, and we're working with the district to see what we could put up there and how soon we could do it. But yes, that is being considered.
Thanks, Mark.
We have another question from Martha, and she asks, because the money has not yet been established for this, is it actually likely to happen, or is this still just a theoretical reconstruction?
Now, this one, this is a high priority for the district, so they're doing what they can to get the funds programmed after the alternative, such alternative is developed. But I know this is a priority for the district at this moment.
Chester Rail, I've asked you to unmute. And you are unmuted. Go ahead. Chester, go ahead and speak if you'd like to. All right, we'll see if he can figure out the technology issues. If anybody else has a question, again, you can click the raise hand button, or if you're on the phone, you can hit *3, or you can put it in the Q&A box if there's any remaining questions in the last few minutes we have. All right, I see Chester raise his hand again. So Chester, go ahead and unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Just a quick observation. Are you going to be presenting some additional information on what you're going to be doing after the waters pass the interstate and go on down to the highway between the refuge and Luis Lopez? Are you going to be doing any bank improvements so that the waters will not flood over properties on both sides of that Walnut Creek Arroyo as it goes out towards the river?
At this point, Chester, that's outside of this study area, and so currently there's no planned or expected improvements that far away from the interchange.
All right, we have another call-in user with a question. Go ahead and unmute. You are unmuted. Go ahead. Call-in user, you are unmuted. So if you want to go ahead and talk, see if we can hear you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Yeah, all right, sorry about that. Anyway, this is David Mason. I have a couple of questions. One is a concern, kind of about alternatives 2 and 3. So I'm kind of with Travis Harris there, and a farmer, and you have a lot of hay buyers coming in with loaded trailers, semi trucks, and also just general farmers and ranchers that are getting hay. And one of my concerns is on alternatives 2 and 3, they're going to have to stop to get onto I-25 and then start going up a ramp and getting onto I-25. So, you know, as with loaded trailers, it's just a concern sometimes of trying to pick up enough speed to get onto the highway. And if you're raising an elevation and try and get on a highway, that's a concern, at least when I'm driving a big loaded trailer. So that's just something to, I think, to think about. You know, that just that stop prior to getting on the highway, and you know, losing that momentum. And there's also a lot of RV traffic that's coming down 380, you know, coming from the Ruidoso area and also from the, you know, Bosque del Apache. So that's one concern. And then the other question was kind of going along with the river, the drainage on that. So, you know, in your red, you know, boxed in area that you know, is part of this, it goes all the way down to basically where that drainage takes a right turn and then, you know, goes under the railroad tracks there. Is that part of this because it's in the boxed area? Is that not included as you were talking about? Because that is a pretty big concern for that water just to all of a sudden make this quick right turn, you know, between houses and try to force it under the railroad tracks that's already filled up with sediment and whatnot. And I guess the question is, you know, and just one more thing on that, and then I'll let you talk, is as it's going under the bridge, you know, are you guys expanding that out? And I'm sure I think you already mentioned that it's not going to affect downstream, or you're going to make sure that it doesn't affect downstream. By widening that out, are you going to be allowing more water or less water? Or is it going to be, you know, allowing the water to slow down if you widen that? Maybe some of those kind of comments from a drainage perspective.
It's good, thank you. Andrew, I'll cue you up here in a minute, I guess, for the drainage response. But first, as far as the merging acceleration of those large vehicles getting onto I-25, we definitely recognize that as you know, something that we need to think about. The proposed improvements with alternatives 2 and 3 and even 1 adds a significant length for acceleration. The challenge is that you're going up in elevation in grade, and so, you know, some of those you would need a mile or even more to get those large trucks up to full speed, which, you know, isn't you know, we really can't add the auxiliary lanes that far. But the benefit of those improvements is that you've got the auxiliary lane that allows for merging, and so so I think things will definitely be improved with those alternatives in that nature. Let's see, the other part of that you asked about was in regard to Walnut Creek downstream. We currently do not anticipate improvements of Walnut Creek that far downstream. We included that area so that we can properly model Walnut Creek and get the you know, the comparison of existing conditions to those proposed conditions. Andrew, what do you want to add with regard to the drainage? Just questions there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we are aware of the flooding down there by the railroad tracks. But that's outside really the jurisdiction of the NMDOT. But what we did want to make sure, like you said, is make sure that we aren't going to be negatively impacting the conditions that already exist. And so you make a great point about widening the bridge. So basically what happens there is by widening the bridge, it enables the water to flow a little bit slower. So the total flow through there, we've modeled the existing conditions, and then we have also modeled a wider bridge. And basically, by the time you reach 300 or 400 feet downstream, it's completely equalized, both in terms of the peak flow as well as the water surface elevation. And that's something we'll continue to monitor as we develop the drainage analysis for the proposed conditions. And that's a baseline criteria is to make sure that we don't negatively impact the areas downstream from the existing.
So maybe just to expand a little bit on what Andrew said, the proposed structures for the interstate over Walnut Creek would widen the channel, and like Andrew said, would with a wider channel, you decrease the speeds of the water going through that area. So we think that's that's going to improve the situation and decrease that scour that's happening.
Yeah, the scour is primarily caused by the high velocities as well as the depth, and so by widening, you reduce both of those, and the water basically, because it's flowing slower and it's more shallow, it's really about the same amount of water flowing through. Over a period of time with the channel, the energy grade line of the water flowing through there tends to equalize, even if you have some modifications inside the channel.
Thanks, Andrew.
We have one more question from Kent Harvey, and the question is there a study that also addresses the poor road conditions of the I-25 pavement in both directions?
Mark, I'm not aware of any longer projects that are looking at pavement of I-25 northbound, southbound for larger area of our project. Are you aware of anything?
Not at the moment, but it's something I could check with the district and their maintenance, see if that's something in the near future they have planned. But at the moment, I don't have that information.
Thanks, Mark.
Martha would like to comment that she said, yes, paving is in terrible condition. At this time, we'll do a last call for any questions. You can click the raise hand button. You can put them in the Q&A box. Otherwise, we will call it a night. So if there's any other questions, go ahead and raise your hand or type them into the Q&A box now. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your participation tonight. We had some great questions, and the entire study team really appreciates the area's passion for this study. And again, if you'd like to make comments before December 16th so they can be added to the record, you can see all the ways on the screen you can do it. Email i25sanantonio@hdrinc.com. You can call 602-245-6330. You can also fill out a form on the website, or you can send it via USPS mail. And again, we thank you for your participation this evening, and give us about a week or so and we will have the PowerPoint and the video from this meeting posted on the website so you can go back and reference it. With that, Danton, any closing words, or Mark, any closing words?
No, it's okay. Thank everybody again for taking the time out of your evening to join us for this study. And we really appreciate all your comments that were received today. We look forward to meeting with you all again in the next meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.